It is Thursday, May 31st, 2012. Welcome to INFOWARS Nightly News. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex Jones tonight. And here's what we have ahead for you on the show.
Tonight,
Bilderberg Group openly now says that our military is run by the UN and NATO. They're openly announcing world government. They are the enemy of this country, and more, we are identifying them. The answer to their 1984 system is 1776.
full spectrum coverage from the secretive meeting that is Bilderberg 2012, as the elite's cloak of secrecy is unveiled in Chantilly, Virginia. Then, the Bilderberg list is revealed, with possible VP candidate and shill for the vaccine industry, Mitch Daniels, in attendance. Plus, Don Tolman, the Whole Food Medicine Cowboy, joins Mike Adams via video Skype. All that plus tonight's top headlines up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Leading off with our top story tonight, Bilderberg 2012 and the Occupy Bilderberg movement. As you know, Alex Jones and the INFOWARS crew is there in Virginia covering all of the breaking news surrounding Bilderberg. And we now have an official release of an attendee list. Now that list has some real showstoppers, some eye-openers. They include, get this, Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels, who is a former senior vice president for corporate strategy of the Eli Lilly company. Yes, indeed, one of the giants of the pharmaceutical industry. The very company pushing vaccines, psychiatric drugs for children, and all kinds of other drugs that claim to treat degenerative disease. Is it possible now, with Rubio not appearing on the attendee list at Bilderberg, is it possible that Governor Mitch Daniels is now being considered as the vice president candidate for Mitch Romney? If so, and if Romney were to be elected president, it would mean that the United States of America could have a vice president that has a high position, or previously did, in big pharma. Can you imagine the outcome of that? More vaccines for everyone. It's national policy. It's what the federal government wants. So more with the attendee list, by the way. Look at some of the names that have shown up in here. We've got the Prince Felipe of Belgium. We've got Mitchell Daniels. Oh, we just covered him. We've got Thomas Donnellan, the National Security Advisor of the White House. We've got executives from BP. And James Johnson, the vice chairman of Perseus. He is reportedly responsible for leading the selection teams that selected the previous vice presidents of the two previous administrations in the White House. So if he is indeed there looking at Governor Daniels, it could once again be more evidence that Daniels is being considered for the vice president situation. We've also got Vernon Jordan on the attendee list. Of course, John Kerry, Henry Kissinger. What would a Bilderberg meeting be without Mr. Kissinger there attending? And many others, Peggy Noonan and Charlie Rose, the journalists, of course, Eric Schmidt, executive of Google, and Martin Wolf. Many others. The names are, of course, quite intriguing, and you can find the full list on stories and links from INFOWARS.com. That's big news coming out of Bilderberg this evening. Now, there has, of course, been a media blackout on the Bilderberg meetings for many years. Remember when Alex Jones first started talking about it, he was called a conspiracy theorist, that there's no such thing as Bilderberg, we were told. Well, now the media has to reluctantly admit that Bilderberg does exist, but they still don't want to talk about it. But that censorship, that blackout, has now been broken by the Washington Times, which has broken the silence on the media blackout of Bilderberg in a story that they have posted. And Paul Joseph Watson has covered that announcement in a story on INFOWARS.com that says it's all part of, he quotes the Times saying it's all part of an unprecedented security crackdown now enforced to protect global financiers, banking heads, media and technology moguls, as well as elected officials from the very public whose lives are affected by their decisions. Of course, that quote refers to why there is a media blackout on the Bilderberg meetings. But Alex Jones then has a quote, "This year, it's the biggest ever." Yeah, Bilderberg is not only bigger, but there's more public scrutiny on the meeting thanks to the efforts of Alex Jones and all the INFOWARS crew and all the protesters who are showing up. perhaps as many as 1,000 or more showing up there on site to ask questions about this. The article by Paul Watson goes on to state, expect the Post, that is the Washington Post, to only report on the conference once it is wrapped up. Bilderberg relies on big media to ignore their meetings so as not to draw more press attention while the summit is in progress. Isn't that convenient? Yes. It's like having a sign after you hit a speed bump on the road, you just hit a speed bump. Not that helpful after the fact, is it? In any case, Washington Times deserves some kudos for being willing to cover this story. Now, more on Bilderberg. We have the political party Wildrose leader Danielle Smith attacks the premier's attendance at the Bilderberg conference. Now, this is news out of Edmonton. Wildrose leader Danielle Smith attacked Premier Alison Redford on Wednesday for attending the elite Bilderberg conference. This is great to hear because it means that people in various countries who now see their so-called leaders attending this meeting are starting to question whose agenda are they serving? Whose interests do they serve? It's very clear that the Bilderberg conference is not about serving the interests of the people. Otherwise, the meetings would be, well, public. They would have full transparency, wouldn't they? They would invite the Washington Post and the New York Times and the LA Times. And hey, why not invite INFOWARS while you're at it, the #1 alternative media source in the world? Shouldn't they have a seat at the event and be able to listen to the meetings? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that, guys? If Alex actually got to record the meetings and play those, that would be interesting. So Smith, in continuing with this story, Smith said Albertans shouldn't have to foot the $19,000 bill to attend the conference of power brokers because the meeting is closed to the media. That the meeting also will pass no resolutions and Redford won't be able to say what happened or what she accomplished. Amazing. Redford defended the trip, of course, saying that Smith is trying to make political hay out of, quote, routine business. Oh, it's just routine that we go have secret meetings and decide on how to divvy up the world's resources and control and dominate everything, acting as a global government corporate-run mafia. Yeah, that's just routine. See, okay, moving on. Is the Bilderberg meeting illegal? This is a story by Kurt Nimmo at INFOWARS.com. Check that website if you'd like more details about this. The question is whether U.S. officials attending the meeting are, of course, in violation of the Logan Act. And the Logan Act reads, well, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but it basically says that any elected officials acting with the authority of the United States of America cannot engage in secret meetings with foreign nationals, cannot be involved in foreign government decisions. This is a violation of law, but it's never been enforced, or at least not in recent memory. So if you look at the Bilderberg participant list, you see a large number of U.S. citizens, including U.S. Senator John Kerry, the governor of Indiana, who we mentioned earlier, the national security advisor, and a large number of bankers, business CEOs, and assorted other individuals. Should they be prosecuted under the Logan Act? This is a legitimate question for all American citizens, and it should be a question on the minds of people at the Department of Justice. After all, they're responsible for serving justice, and doesn't that mean enforcing laws against this kind of thing? Makes you wonder who they're actually serving. All right, now if you want more breaking news on Bilderberg 2012, of course, go to INFOWARS.com. Lots of stories breaking there almost hour by hour. Great reporting by Kurt Nimmo, Steve Watson, Paul Joseph Watson, Aaron Dykes, and many others. Also, if you want live video from Bilderberg 2012, Alex Jones and crew there are broadcasting live video from time to time, not 24/7, but during the day as opportunities are available. They are live broadcasting. You can get that information, those video streams, at INFOWARS.com. And what you just saw there was a sample of what you can see live on Ustream broadcast from the Bilderberg conference, so be sure to check that out. Some fascinating information there. Also, you know what's great about it is the police can't confiscate your camera if you're broadcasting live. They can't take that video back. It's not like they can just seize the little SD card and get your video from you. So that's a pretty cool technology. Good job to the INFOWARS crew to have that all set up and working flawlessly. It's really awesome. Moving on, New York plans to ban the sale of large-size sugary drinks. That's right. Any soda or other sugary drink over 16 ounces could be criminalized in the state of New York, thanks to the incredible wisdom of Mr. Bloomberg, who I guess apparently believes that New Yorkers are too stupid to buy two 12-ounce drinks and therefore get 24 ounces. That's right. I guess he thinks New Yorkers can't do math and that the 16-ounce limit will somehow befuddle their minds into never exceeding that amount of consumption of sugary beverages. How wild is that? Now, of course, as the health ranger, I'm against the consumption of sugary drinks and high fructose corn syrup and aspartame, especially in diet sodas. But I don't think that the government should be telling us every little detail about our lives, like how big our toilets can be and what kind of light bulbs we can buy and how much of this we can drink and how much of that we can eat. And then they want us to take vaccines and drink fluoride on top of that. You know, it makes you wonder if they really cared about your health. Wouldn't they say maybe you shouldn't have fluoride in your water? Maybe you shouldn't give vaccines to babies that causes them to have autism and seizures and vomiting and headaches, and sometimes, in fact, sends them to the hospital to die. So New York says they care about your health now. They're going to use this to fight their pandemic of obesity, but they don't want to talk about what's in the soda. They don't want to ban the aspartame in the soda. They just want to make sure you only drink this much of it instead of this much. So it's not really, it's an embarrassing approach. But here's some of what New York City says. Here's the story out of New York Times, in fact. It says that the city plans to enact a far-reaching ban on the sale of large sodas and other sugary drinks at restaurants, movie theaters, and street carts in the most ambitious effort yet by the Bloomberg administration to combat rising obesity. And the measure would not only apply to diet sodas, fruit juices, dairy-based drinks like milkshakes or alcoholic beverages. It would not apply to those things. It would not apply to diet soda. Oh my God, so you can have unlimited aspartame, you see. You see, that's how it works. And it would not apply to fruit juices, many of which are just refined sugar. And it would not apply to milkshakes or alcohol. So you can drink your way to obesity as long as it's alcohol. You just can't do it with high fructose corn syrup. Wow, this is really amazing. So here's a quote from an industry spokesperson who's defending the soda industry. He says, the New York City's health department's unhealthy obsession with attacking soft drinks is, again, pushing them over the top. This is from Stephen Friedman. Quote, it's time for serious health professionals to move on and seek solutions that are going to actually curb obesity. These zealous proposals just distract from the hard work that needs to be done on this front. Well, again, I'm not defending the soda industry, which does sell poison to people. But let's get the government out of our lives, out of our pockets, out of our bathrooms, and, hey, out of our pants, too, at the TSA, okay? That's enough of that. All right, moving on. On the financial issues happening, you know, Greece, of course, is in big financial trouble, but now money is fleeing Spain. Yes, in the domino effect scenario that we now see unfolding across Europe, Spain looks like to be the next domino to fall after Greece. Bank of Spain data showed that in the last month, $82 billion worth of money flowed out of the country as investors began to almost panic. They began to become very afraid, very concerned that their money was